Welcome to the Hansen Brothers podcast. I'm Timmy and joined by my brother Kevin. We are teammates and world champions in Rallycross. This podcast is our space to catch up while traveling the motorsport world. We're going to talk you through everything that happened in the first round of the World Rallycross Championship in Lousada. It was epic, and I think it's very important that we start by ironing out any tension that there might be from the last corner of the final.
Have you watched the broadcast?
I did watch the broadcast today, and I heard you say some very interesting things.
It's great, isn't it? Because I was honestly, I was not happy. I was really angry. I thought it was because we can both speak from our perspective. In the end of the, just to give people a little bit of idea what's happened. Just about this situation, me and Timmy entered into the last corner. Tim emerging from the Joker, me from the normal lap, together into the last corner of the final. And there was a little bit of contact, and Timmy finished second, I finished fourth. That's
let's pull it up. Let's pull it up on screen for the YouTube viewers, and we try to explain for the audio only listeners.
Should I pull up the whole final here? Or should I from the start or from?
Let's just get right into it, the whole final, and then we'll end that by like I don't know, finding brotherly peace again. Spoiler alerts, I guess, if you haven't watched it.
It was tricky because I wanted John to go around Niklas, but it didn't. And here I was like, I need to follow Timmy.
Just pause here, Kevin. So what happened there is you and I had a very even start. Johan didn't have as good of a launch as he had in the semifinal, so he dropped back a bit, and he just like made himself vulnerable. So you touched him once, made me be able to go up the inside, which gave him another nudge. So you got up the inside, and basically the whole field passed him there. And exactly. You and I out in...
For people to understand, I had to deliberately use you as a cushion to get past him, because I couldn't just like leave you the space and not touch you to get past him, because he was too far ahead of you. So I had to go into the side of you and push you forward a little bit. But I was like, if it was like Baby or Clara or Niklas or anyone else, I would have gone much more aggressively into the side and pushed. But I used you to shove you forward so I could get past. So you got past 100%, so I could then get enough past him.
Yeah, I know. So I get it 100% because that covers his outside line.
Exactly. And Baby got past. You see, he's dropped to fifth there. And here it was, so I could feel Baby behind me. That was crazy close. And I Joker here directly. I got Joker don't follow. No, I didn't even get Joker don't follow. I got Joker because they obviously spoke together to be like, we're not going to Joker Tim in the first lap. And here is, I must say, from this point, my run is unbelievable. It is so good until I catch Clara.
Also, big shout out Andreas Backerud on the commentary. He was so good.
Fantastic, yeah. So there, see how close I am to the wall there. It's like it was no margins anywhere. But the track was really nice in the final. Like here, you can see I've already caught like a little bit of the gap to Clara, and I just kept. This is lap 2 for anyone listening in on Spotify, and we're watching the end of lap 2 here. Tim is following Niklas in front, just about car gap behind. You told me you were having heavy pressure on him, easy to follow, but you got a gap here.
Yeah, no, he got a big gap on the first lap, but from now on here. From here, you see this downhill. I really close on him very quickly. Here, I got a great exit and already into the bank turn. And I'm like, I'm with him and into the the hairpin at the end. So I've kind of been closing the gap through this lap and a half.
Yeah, and I've also caught Clara here now, and I was 3.7 behind on that end of lap 2, and there I touched Clara in the hairpin to give her a nudge to say, "Oi, I'm here." And I could see it was so little running this weekend, like because it's so few laps. So it was difficult to build up an idea of what was the distance when you had jokered to the guys in front on the start straight to be like, that's the distance I need to be close enough to. So I was kind of like just pushing, but I could see all the run. I was catching.
Yeah.
But I didn't know if it was enough at any point. And here I was very close to pass Clara on this lap. I couldn't quite get there.
Yeah, and me, every time I would get close to Niklas at the front there, I would make a mistake in turn two when I was too close to see the apex. Like I didn't do well there, by following. But then I catch now again in this lap.
Yeah.
So I think
And now
he
we're
must have
entering
been
lap
driving a
5.
bit in his mirrors and being defensive
I
because
think so. But also,
he,
he
you know,
said on the TV that he wasn't worried about the gap behind because I was like 3.5 behind there or 3.2, which is still fine. But I was catching so much, and here I caught Clara, and they missed it that on the. Johan is super close to me as well. Here I
yeah,
passed Clara. They don't catch it on the TV. You can see just in the back there. I'm just
there,
up the
yeah.
inside, squeezing past. But here is my first mistake of the final. Just a meter late, a little bit wide, and maybe someone even touched me there. And I got a little bit wide, had to be a bit defensive there. That was the first loss. Here's last lap. I
And
think we get the
like
gaps here as well.
Johan's whole front bumper
2.8.
to absolutely microscopic pieces when he touched her there.
Yeah,
I'm again super close to Niklas and I go wide. Do you see that? I
yeah,
went wide
I
again, so I
saw.
wasn't really super close.
Yeah.
Again, because I didn't see that apex coming into turn two.
Mm. And
I'm not
there
too
is
far off,
just in the top corner is where I caught. There everyone see I'm putting a
You
lot
see
of
the
white
dust
dust.
there.
Let's post it there. I'm putting a lot, and I went in as any other lap. I had 2.7 or 2.8, and the gap to the Joker lab was 2.8. That was the delta. If you did a really good one, you could do below two, like 2.6. Or the Christian even said Johan did a 2.4 at one point, never could repeat it again.
Mm.
But it was like they thought I had it on the splits. But then I got caught in a rut. So I went in really heavy into the banking, and the rut just stopped my car. It just it happened also on testing, but the rut was way worse then. And I got caught, and I had to put full lock, and I climbed the curb, and I think I lost about 5 tenths if I looked on the splits on that one.
So now we get to the interesting part and the reason why there is some tension between the brothers. So
Yeah,
pause here. So right here,
this
you
is
see Kevin
fascinating.
Kevin has done this mistake. So like virtually you could have been at this position with Niklas. Now you see Niklas on your right, and you decide to now you see the attitude of the car already in this position. Like you're gonna go extremely defensive here.
Yeah,
I and you obviously you know it's me. So I think if it was anyone
yeah.
else, you might have
I got
tried to
told
push him, put him in the
Timmy.
wall.
Timmy on the right, but the thing is that during my comment all during the weekend on the radio, he said to me there, it could be close on exit with Timmy. So I was like, okay, Timmy might be there. Um, but like also during the weekend, he said it could be close, and then many times he like or 90% he said, okay, it's still a gap, it's still a gap. So he wasn't really close. And here is where I was like, okay, I need to go a little bit defensive to just make sure like I thought I was slotting behind you here, but obviously when
Yeah,
I got here,
and I freak
you're like
out
you're
there.
at my door.
Yeah, and you see me here trying to avoid you, like because you come in super aggressive, like from the standard lap. By the way, we're not allowed to cross that white line in the background. That's why Kevin had to come in very late to try to defend. Obviously, this is a matter of a few hundreds here or there who would get the position.
Mm,
But like I'm already like so far up, and I know in this position right here that like the two options is that I basically stop dead and park my car and let you through, and that way we could be two and three. But at the same time, I'm so far up, like it was so unnatural to do anything other than stay in the gap.
mm.
Um, and yeah,
And
you
here,
can.
because it was here, I don't see you. You see, you're like your front. Obviously, the bonnet bends down, and you're by my door. I had no idea you were here on the right of me. I was like, okay, I thought I was less than a car width. You see, you have just taken a car width there, so I left you
I'm
just
on.
enough space.
You see how close I am to the wall and between you.
Yeah,
Literally,
Dad said you squeezed him into the wall. I didn't squeeze him into the wall. It was a perfect one car length gap. And then here I don't know if I guess you decide to, Niklas also, which he breaks very early here,
I decide
to
there.
really
I
cover.
have to make like the decision at some point. I can't stay like on your rear quarter. Then we would maybe crash. Like I needed to make a decision, and this is basically where I make the decision. Like I need to, get a bit
Yeah.
further ahead, and so like we are dead even.
So let's just play the full incident for people to see. This is merge there, boom. Johan really messed up.
Johan messes up
So
completely.
I was
OC
really
almost
angry
getting
because
me.
I obviously didn't see you, and for me, you were like you just drove in, took a gap, and I finished fourth. Um, and I was like, and then what really tipped me over the edge on the broadcast was that you said, "Well, yeah, we should probably have finished second, third, but I wanted to go racing, so I went for it and took the podium." And I was like, I thought
Yeah,
we were
fuck
gonna
you.
team drive. Yeah, I was like, fuck. Honestly, I was like, fuck you then. We can go
Yeah, but
racing every time if you want.
yeah, but you know, with anybody else, that's not even a question. The door was 100 meters wide open, and that's my corner and everything. But because it's so tight,
Even
and with
with
that
the
speed,
rules, we have to
yeah,
explain also the rules that if you have your front wheel um in line with the rear wheel of the other car, you're in right of the corner. If you're behind with your front wheel of the rear axle of the other car, you're not in right of the corner. So you were in right of having the corner, but yeah,
no, and the reason why I got like bummed and saying like I knew this would happen is because like I had so little space. If you wouldn't have gone defensive, if you would have done the normal racing line, I would have been much more comfortably on the inside, and then I could have played it nicely, so you would have come out third. But now because it was so tight and squeezed in there, like I still tried whatever I could in the middle of the corner to park my car. I tried to like back the field up so you would have a run around the outside so you would stay third. And now
yeah.
my
I
car is
think
absolutely
like
smashed in the back. Is like
in
one
in
meter
the rear
shorter.
because baby absolutely rammed you. But
Yeah, it's
what
my fault though.
like I look at this situation, I'm like, okay, it's we couldn't really have planned. Like you can speak about turn one, but you can't speak about the last turn of the race. Like you can discuss the first incident of it. You can't discuss every scenario throughout the whole race. So I'm like there. Yes, you had the right of corner. Yes, I understand that you went for it and continued. You tried from your point of view to slow down. I didn't get that. We finished second and fourth. What is a loss for me is that we could have easily finished one and three. Like, sure, we could have finished second and third if you let me go, but that situation, I think it was tricky to manage. I think the problem comes earlier. We should have been told much more clearly, either slot in behind Timmy or slot in behind Kevin in the exit of the joke lap, for example, or team drive and push Niklas a little bit and mess with him so we guarantee a win because it's 5 points different. It's 20% more points that you get from winning. And there, for me, is the lack of strategy long term. What does our team want the most? Is it a driver championship? Is it a team championship? Um, I think the control and the strategy is not clear enough in that point. I think it's so difficult for us. Like we can disagree on incidents. We have done in the past ice driving and stuff as well when we had the cross cards and stuff. Like, but in the end of the day, that's racing incidents, and we move forward, you and me. But I think we shouldn't be put in those positions, but we have to choose in the moment. That should be done for us in Formula One, in WRC. People that are overviewing the best interest of the team or the overall organization and the long-term goals, they make those decisions so we don't have to. Because we're sports people, we want to go for the best position possible no matter what happens. So for me, that's a bit the issue here.
I kind of agree and don't agree because I think we are very good at the team game. And like, for example, me starting to mess things up a little bit more for Niklas could have been easily done and so on. And me backing down or you backing down could have been done. But I also think like even though it's legal to do all this team driving, I think there's also a limit to how much like ethically, you know, we also have to race. And I think it's important for both your feeling and my feeling that even if we come out behind one another, the race is not done and over. You know, you don't have to just babysit your brother in front of you. I think it's
For sure.
important that we are allowed to race, and like we should race. And but the important thing is we should race in a way that we don't crash. Obviously, now you lost one position, but
Yes.
you know it's not the end of the world. You didn't put me into the wall by too big of a squeeze, and I didn't run you completely off the road, so you finished P6. Like it was a battle. It didn't go
Yeah.
100% perfect, but I still think we both had the respect for each other as teammates while still racing aggressively. And yes, that one didn't come out perfect, but all the things won't always come out perfect. It's kind of hard.
No,
We're on the top level of Rallycross, and we're trying to team drive and think for you, and you think for me, and like it's a complicated situation. So it won't always go 100% perfect.
I think just that we had the opportunity to win and we didn't. That's a fact. Then the question is, how do you want to achieve that? I think we should have. I think as a team we should have won that race. We deserved on pace. We were quick. I don't think it's a problem. Like we have people not just constantly in the back messing with us every race. So for
Yeah,
me, my personal view, and people can disagree, I think in the situation where we were, you weren't stressing Niklas, let's say threatening to overtake that heavily like I was on Clara, for example. But we were in a situation where things was moving in the direction for me to win. But in the end, I had to take so much risk to be able to achieve that I made mistakes instead. So
yeah,
in another way, to take less risk to still achieve it would have been that you could have assisted in that process, for example.
yeah. What I could have
But
done is
that
try
that's
and be a bit
that's
more.
my opinion.
Yeah, what I could have done is try a bit more aggressively to find a gap with Niklas. So I didn't get the Joker. Every time I passed the Joker, I would wait for the call and
I
not
can
get
imagine,
it.
yeah.
And with like I'm right on his bumper. But that makes me realize that, Dad Kenneth is my spotter. He's one of the best out there. He's good at strategy. I know that there is something going on back there that would probably hold me up if I went into the Joker now. So the best way for me now, because I didn't get the Joker, is for us to open that gap to behind, and then I could Joker and come out in my position and fight Niklas.
And
So
that's the thing.
my
If
best
you were
chance then,
told, for example, if you guys were losing in front, like heavily, you were losing a couple of tenths, I guess on average it was uh 3 tenths a lap or something on average, because I lost a little bit more when I was buying Clara. So then I didn't gain that. I was only gained like 2 tenths, 1 tenth in the end, but I gained like a couple of tenths properly in the beginning. Like that's where we should be involved. Like it should be an information, it should be better information, in my opinion. I think we we could have had so much more points going out of this weekend if we had a better information to us.
I could have put, more aggressive kind of pressure
Mm,
onto Niklas, because when I try to look for these gaps, but also trying to be fast, it's very important then that I don't start to touch him, so I stress him even more. I think he was already driving a bit defensive, but if I
mm,
would start to get into the back of him, I know that his reaction will be to close the door even harder. And from my point of view, I don't know what's going on back there. I just know they're close, or so
yeah.
someone's close. That would then hold me up, and I would lose out in the Joker strategy. But I have a completely different view on where we lost this race. We didn't lose this race in the final. We both made, the best we could out of the final. Niklas put in a fantastic drive all weekend to be on pole, take the start repeatedly, and be quick enough to win repeatedly. And he did that all the way throughout the race and won the final. So I think very,
I
very
know
well
what you're
deserved.
gonna say, and I think I already agree, but I'll let you finish.
Yeah. I think where we lost it is where in Q1 I was first, you were third. And then we fast forward into Q2, we got two inside lines, we got two good starts. We slot in, we are first and second on the inside, the dream Hansen team driving position. And we screw it up by braking too early. And Niklas also at the same time making a brilliant late brake move around the outside, beating us. That's where we lost the race.
And we already, you wanted me to put this video on hold for the before we jumped on, and I've got it
Yeah.
here.
We have the inside, Niklas is on the outside.
Yeah,
We
we're
slot
one
in
and two.
together, but we brake too early.
He
Look at
does
his
that.
move here. I mean,
Yeah,
it's absolutely brilliant move, no doubt about it. But you and I brake too early.
yeah. We exit 3 and 4 eventually because I passed you on again. I passed you on so many times this weekend.
Yeah. No, but pause here. Now in a 5-car race, we're third and fourth, and at the entry to turn one before the braking, we were first and second. And this is where Niklas was able to take control of the race, win this race, get the start in the next one, and so on and so on. Like
Yeah.
this was his, breakthrough moment of the weekend, and I think we just didn't break late enough into turn
I
one.
think
That
this from your perspective, that was the moment where you break too early and lost the inside dominance of the weekend. From my perspective, I thought about this as well because in as an athlete, you have to try and what you can say decentralize almost, or like you have to pick apart the weekend and be like, okay, sure, I'm not happy with the final result, but is there anything that led to the final result? Just like you said, that was maybe the earlier problem. And for me, the main problem, I won my Q1, I took the start, unbelievable run, but I lost 2 seconds in the first lap in the second sector due to watering. And that was only the first lap. And in the end of the run, I think I was 1.8 behind you in the overall time. And for me, the loss of the weekend was that they watered unadvised and not scheduled watering before the first race of the World Championship. So we lost a lot of track performance that run. And for me, that was the moment where I went from potentially having a top time on the first quali. Instead, I was third. And for me, that was the loss. Like then I was starting third, then I was starting fifth, then I was starting second. I never got to the inside again. And I started second in semi, I started fourth. That was the moment where I had a great run. I lost a heaps, as Molly would say, heaps, very Australian way, of time in that sector too. Only in the first, I didn't even bother checking the second lap, so I lost to myself 2 seconds in the lead on my own lap time in that sector. And I was like, that was the start of Mannix. Then after I never got in there again because it was so equal in the starts between everyone. I think the electric still had a tiny bit of advantage, and the petrol were just behind. But the electric started pretty much dead even, and I could just never get back to that inside that I needed. And even one moment, it was Q2 when we were side by side. I overtook Johan in the last corner. That could have also been a completely different story because if I didn't do the overtake, you can never say don't want to overtake. Then I would have been P6 overall, which put me on pole.
I get your frustration because arguably you had the best weekend, the best pace of the weekend, like one lap pace. You often had the best lap, and you got into that situation of not taking the start, being behind, trying to recover, not really managing, starting outside again, and so on and so on. But also, like there's things going around it. Like the reason why you took the start in that Q1 race was because you accidentally jump started.
Yeah,
But as you
that we
did,
haven't
the light
mentioned.
turned green. I mean,
Yeah,
how
so
lucky is that? Also, like
also,
think about that.
yes, 100%, 100%. That's a very good point. So, for everyone listening, like in the start, it was such a long hold in the first quali. I was starting, it was the two construction equipment cars on the inside and Johan on my left. And I knew like it's gonna be a tough race because these two on the right probably start very equal, and Johan is gonna be probably before the weekend really commenced, like probably the quickest. And in the end of the, I think he still was the quickest in the end of the weekend. But I was like, it's gonna be a tough race. And in the start, I was sitting there and was boom, 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 lights on, four lights on, ready to race. And it was such a long hold. And the VWs, when they put the preload on the clutch, the car goes,
Yeah.
that aggressive hold. And I could see their car move. And I saw it. And it was for such a long time. And I thought, it must be soon. And I was looking at it and I started to be like, it must be now. And it must be now. And sometimes you can have a little bit of like your hand can move a little bit, like flinch. And it just flinched too much. And I released. And I was like, no. And then I looked, as soon as you watch from the light, you look down, and I was like, no, it wasn't green. Looked up, was green, and no red lights. And then I was like, oh, okay, so no jump stop. Maybe I didn't, maybe it wasn't even good. I looked to my right and my left, and all of them were behind,
No
and I
one
just
there.
turned in.
I
It was
was
brilliant.
watching that from the side. I was in the race after, like, and this is the first indication we get of our start performance after testing and everything, new software and stuff that's been
Yeah,
going
yeah,
on.
yeah.
and I see that, and I'm like, oh my God, we've nailed the launch like so good. We have the best launch now. And then I'm like fully prepared to do equally good because I didn't know you jumpstart. Uh,
Ah,
to my disappointment, I released the handbrake and it's nothing special. It's, or it's special, but it's equal with the others.
you
So
still took the start though, or almost Rikkonen
I
took it
did.
in turn one, but he gave me a little nudge and he was gone. We need to touch base on the EOT. That was such a big conversation going into the weekend. The final EOT, which we got just a bit before, was that our power was going to be 465 kilowatts at a weight of 1410. And the petrol car, obviously, no power. They just go as quick as they put as much power as they can on their engine durability. And their weight was 13,
65.
uh, 65.
1365.
1365. So that was the final EOT, and the definition of the FA was that after the test, the difference between the electric and the petrol was 4.5 tons. That was like, that's the difference between the cars. Then they made the calculations and so on to determine how much loss there is per 10 kilowatts and how much increase of lap time there is by adding 10 kilos. And the final decision was that the difference between the cars was supposed to be 3 tons. And that was going
Wanted
into
the
the
gap to
weekend.
be 3/10, yeah, because
Yeah.
they saw that the electric cars have a slightly better power to weight ratio, which means that it was very clear from their testing data that we lost out in the first 2 seconds, and it was like equal for 2 seconds, and then after 4.6 seconds we would have a slight advantage on the start line. So they wanted to balance that out with the combustion cars being around 3/10 faster a lap.
Yeah. So in the end of the day, we were a bit gutted, I think, because we thought if you see it's 3 times difference, why not make it equal? But hindsight, we obviously don't know the power that KMS went at. I still believe, looking at splits, looking at, like Ole Christian said, Johan could pull off a 2.4 difference in the Joker lap. When we did like 2.8, 4 tenths in like 2 corners. Like there wasn't that much magic to be had in there. I still believe that they do have a proper advantage, but they were probably not able at any point to show it because Johan, he was supposed to put a really mega run in Q3, but he had an engine problem, but still lapped the same lap time as Ole Christian did, and some of the other petrol cars with an engine problem. And I think in the end of the day, it also is a bit driver dependent. So Johan probably has a few tenths over Ole Christian, but it didn't seem quite like he showed his full potential. And in the semi, he was, a little bit managing me constantly. And also in Q4, he just, kind of cruised around, and then when he got the opportunity, pushed the laps in, and he got all of us, and took the 50 points. So as soon as he had opportunities to do so, so I do think they had the pace in the bag, but they didn't want to show it too much because it's still 5 races to go, and I'm sure they are argumenting to get less weight again because now, oh look, there was 2 electric cars on the podium, 1 petrol. We used to win by so much last year. It's not fair. But then,
Yeah.
just to throw in before, I had a conversation with one other person on the flight yesterday, and that person was like, "Well, if they don't like the petrol cars, don't KMS have 2 electric cars if the electric is so much better?" I was like, "No, they have 3." So they were like, "Why don't they just use them then if it's so unfair?" I was like, "It's a brilliant point."
Yeah.
But
No,
yeah,
they could.
anyway,
They are probably the only team on the field with the ability to switch between petrol and electric based on what they feel like. So there was no horse powertrain sponsor on the car this weekend, and it's yet to see if they will be back. Yeah, horse powertrain. If not, then they are absolutely free to swap between electric and combustion. One time you can change one time
yeah,
during the season. Um, so yeah, we do expect them to be more clever than we are at this game. They've done the game in other championships other times. I would be surprised if they went all out full speed at the first race also. But what do we know? We don't. We can only guess. And I would also like
Yeah,
in this whole mix, like some people argue that it's equal. I think it was pretty equal.
I
Maybe
think it was
we had the
pretty
upper hand
equal.
because it was that long start straight and the electrics had a better start, that we had a better chance to win the races. A combustion car couldn't really have
Because the
done what
lap was
Niklas
so
did.
short also because we could cover off very quickly the Joker lap. Only with in the other Joker, it takes a couple of more seconds a lap. So there's a part of the track that you lose out. So difference from entry to exit of Joker was probably 25 seconds from that. So you only had 25 seconds to make a difference. So it was very easy to cover off as well if you Patrick car Joker before the electric to cover off and so things like that. So it was a tricky track to make a big difference. And once the start was sorted, it was pretty much that. So I do think I agree with you that probably the electric had a tiny bit of increased chance to win the race, but maybe not pure lap time. But then in Höljes, I guess what you come to next is a complete different story.
Yeah, no, before I come to Höljes, I would like to just make the point that Patrick O'Donovan had. Um, just for the sake of putting all the information out there, he was, in his opinion, the EOT wasn't right. It was too good for the electric cars, because he argued that we know how much further ahead Johan is than everyone always. Then now he's not so much further ahead anymore, meaning that he is not capable of closing the gap to the electric cars. If they want to balance KMS towards the electric cars, he was arguing that he's not that good, so he's struggling now to keep up with the electric cars. And yeah, I think it's a fair point to make. Like looking over the last few years, they have been dominant, and now this race, it didn't look as they were as dominant. And this is an impossible puzzle to put together.
It's for sure. Nobody's ever going to be fully happy. I would just like also to make the point that in the end, like, if you want to have a non car factor into the game, then you can look at Extreme E and see what has been the last, races, lap times, and so on, because there the car differences are very minimal, and you can see more driver performance. And there, you and me have been up there beating him many times. So I don't think it's him being a magical driver, being the goat of the goat, doing magic tricks and not doing things that we don't understand. I'm confident I can beat him, and I think you are too. So I don't think I don't think that argument from Patrick holds the full way. But I understand his point 100%, that we are referencing one driver, but we reference him because we believe he's maybe more in the same situation as we are. And he said himself, like you said, I'm not as good as him. So it's already lost the race to him, and then I guess.
well, I just wanted to kind of raise the point because obviously we are in two electric cars, and we will always favor if the EOT is towards us. And then there's also other other views on this, and there will never be a happy medium. If we would find the happy
Will
medium,
never be.
if we would find the perfect EOT balance, it wouldn't be that both sides are happy. What would happen is that both sides are unhappy. Both sides say that the other one is better. So
Yeah, for sure.
this will be a never-ending story. This is crossover
Yeah.
between happiness. So moving into the next race for EOT, as you just said before, Höljes will be a completely different story, especially, being if we weigh the EOT versus race result and the start, everyone knows how important it is in World Rallycross. The start straight in Höljes is completely different to the one we had here. It was probably the longest start straight we will have all year in Lousada,
Yeah.
and we only had that gain at the end of the straight, and we didn't really gain a full car length either once they got their starts right. It was like half a car. In Sweden, there is a short stretch of tarmac. The straight itself is about 100 meters, 40 meters shorter than we had in Lousada, but about half of the straight in Sweden is gravel, where you don't really gain anything by any extra power. So I'm predicting, that as they show by the data from the FIA after the testing, that the combustion engine cars had the slight advantage on the initial jump. Like the initial acceleration was better for them because of the lower power. So they will get that first jump, and then we go into gravel. So I think that start straight advantage will probably be reversed once we come to Sweden, and
Yeah.
then it will even out. Then
Then
we'll
it's
have to
one
fight.
race where we had a bit of advantage, and second race they have a bit of advantage. At least, and also I think in that race with their less weight, it's much more twisty track, so um should probably benefit them a little bit more. Here in Lousada, it was longer corners, doesn't make the same amount of difference. So potentially, I do think in some ways that I think maybe that Lousada track was an electric opportunity, character of track to be won at, and Julius should be the other way around, increasing my frustration of not winning the bloody race.
Yeah, so there is still tension at the end of this episode. I don't know if it's towards me or towards who. There
No,
is
I'm
just
also
general
frustrated
frustration
because
over there.
frustration is also I like I discussed with Kenneth, like also, and with I made I had to overtake. Sure, that's fine. That's fun. I like to overtake. Fine. I lost a little bit of time. That's fine. It was part of the game, but I did two mistakes. I made it a little bit wide. Probably lost 2 tenths. Putting my car outside in this dirt when after I passed Clara, and then that rut, which wasn't a mistake. It was unluck. So I could have done better, which also lost me the win, which frustrates me initially. So
Yeah,
Rallycross, we're back, baby. Frustration,
we're back.
racing, feelings. We strive for perfection. Um, I mean, it's great to be back. I love it. I have missed that feeling so much to go racing, be in that, bubble, doing stuff, speaking technical stuff Saturday evening, trying to figure out what we can do. I got an idea that actually worked on the cars the second day, which rarely happens, which was quite fun. Um, so it was great to be back, and I just
Yeah,
hope we can get up and have another Hansen 1-2, which is always a fun celebration.
and it will be a bit harder in once we get to Höljes than it was. Like the chances were probably on our side in Lousada, but it was great also in the terms of like it felt like the good old days of Rallycross at its peak, being sold out on the grandstand, absolutely full, and from the start line you see that packed grandstand. There was so many friendly people coming up saying that they've seen Dad race there in the past, asking for
People
autograph.
crying and cheering like crazy. It
Actually,
was
yeah,
unbelievable.
yeah. So I mean, just extremely, I don't get the word. Like it's
Exciting.
such a exciting, like positive start to
Yeah.
2025 World Rallycross. I think it's safe to say World Rallycross is back, but it's not quite there before Andrew Coley joins the commentary team.
I was gonna say it's not quite back because Cole is not back, but next time he is. And for anyone that's listening and didn't catch all the action, you can now go into YouTube. You can watch all the action back. RX3, RX1 European, World Rallycross. You can watch it all back again as many times as you want. There is no limits anymore. You go and enjoy all the Rallycross content in the world possible. And
Free on YouTube.
and
Yeah.
the Hansen Brothers podcast live and not live but free on YouTube and on Spotify and Apple, like every place. So we appreciate you guys tagging in for the first debrief of the season with Rallycross, and I think it's fair to say I feel more calm leaving this podcast and going into it after our
Good.
discussions,
It's a
and
little
I
therapy
appreciate.
session.
Exactly, brother therapy, and I hope we get them next time.
In the meantime, you will be testing Extreme Age in France during the week. I'm in Barcelona with Team Brazil,
Parting.
partying, team building. It's a busy week. Um,
Yeah.
Good luck in France. I'm gonna go out for dinner in Barcelona right now.
Enjoy. We catch you everyone next week with some more Hanson Brothers chat.
Every Thursday. See you then.
See
Thanks
you
for listening.
guys.